The Houston Texans have a great opportunity against the Denver Broncos to prove that all the good stuff they've done is, well, stuff they can keep doing, and all the bad stuff, well, they've fixed some of those problems. We'll talk about that. We'll go through each and every position, find out who gets check marks, who doesn't get check marks, as well as talk about this big match with the key injuries in this one that you need to know and pay attention to. Appreciate you for checking this video. Welcome into the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans. The caffeine du jour today, the Rise Fruit Punch Kool-Aid. Let's go. Let's get it cracked here. Happy Halloween to you and to yours. Oh, that's good stuff. And hope you have a safe time trick-or-treating if you go out. If you're giving out candy, hope you give out candy and nobody eggs your house and all those fun things as well. Of course, always get into the comment section with your questions, comments, joys, and concerns. Let's get into it. Denver coming to town for the Texans. 2 years ago, the Broncos came to town. The Texans escaped with a victory in large part thanks to Derek Stingley's impressive performance in that matchup. Jimmy Ward intercepted a ball to finish it up, and it was one of those teams that was not quite a measuring stick at that moment for the Houston Texans because they'd had a lot of really good success up to that point. 2 years later, here we are in 2025, and the Broncos come to town as an incredible opportunity to really measure where this Houston Texans team is. It comes into town, Denver does, with a red-hot offense that is as good, maybe better, as the Texans were in their 5 quarters of fantastic offense against the Tennessee Titans and then 4 against the Baltimore Ravens. The Broncos come to town with a team that is even hotter than the Texans were in those 5 quarters. Their 5 quarters that they've recently played on offense against the Dallas Cowboys and that 1 quarter against the New York Football Giants, they've been even better. They've put up a ton of points. They've scored almost at will. They've run the football well. They've thrown the football well. They've gotten everybody involved. Bo Nix has looked like a big-time quarterback. So that offense comes to town with an opportunity for this Texans defense to prove that they are indeed one of the elite defenses in all of football. And, of course, they have done that at every turn this season. The defense has looked fantastic. It doesn't matter if it's Matthew Stafford and the Rams, Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. The defense has done their job each and every time out there, and they walk into this game tops in yards allowed, tops in points allowed in the National Football League. And it is, of course, just another day at the office for this Houston Texans defense. Now, if the defense does their job, they should be giving the offense an opportunity for the Texans to have a day where they can try to build on what they did last week. Remember when we had the conversations about how the 5 quarters against Tennessee and Baltimore didn't matter unless they built on it with the Seattle matchup, and then the Texans kind of tumbled backwards in that matchup, did some of the things out of the bye week that they had done in the previous 5 games that had been unsuccessful, did some of the things in the bye week that hadn't been good football from them. And then they went out there last week and against a San Francisco 49ers team that is fine, not good at any certain thing right now. I know their record looked good when they came into town, but they weren't a good football team when they came into town. They handled their business. Now, how often have the Texans had an opportunity to handle their business and didn't? So it's a positive data point, but much like Tennessee and Baltimore didn't matter as much because of what happened in Seattle, San Fran doesn't matter last week if you don't keep it going against the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos walk in here, and I likened it to an MMA fight over at Houston football. The Texans, they are your full, complete, well put together MMA fighter. They want to tire you out. They want to just lean on you, and they can choke you out. They can tap you out. They can stand and fight with you. They can take you down and give you Brazilian jiu-jitsu. They can win a number of ways when it comes to what they bring to the table as a defense. The Broncos show up in this one, and they are the puncher. They want to knock you out. They possess the best quarterback pass rush rate in football by 6 percentage points. They're the only team getting to the quarterback at a clip higher than 40% this season. They are the only team in the National Football League that has a sack percentage, meaning how many of their pass rushes turn into sacks. They're the only team in the NFL with a double-digit sack percentage. 11% of their pass rushes turn into sacks. And the Denver Broncos lead the National Football League in sacks by 10. Count them, 10. A little shout out to Billy Bob, Varsity Blues. 10 more sacks than the next closest team when it comes to sacks. The Broncos have 20 more sacks than the Houston Texans. They can get after the quarterback, and they send anybody and everybody to go and get the quarterback. Why is that important? Well, the Houston Texans, when they've protected CJ Stroud, they have won the football game. When they haven't protected CJ Stroud, they haven't won the football game. Let's go simply look at the chart here. Look at this quarterback pressure percentage allowed by week. When you see the Texans allow less than 30% quarterback pressure, they go out there and they usually win the football game. Week 4 was Tennessee. Week 5 was the Baltimore Ravens. Week 8 was the San Francisco 49ers. The other weeks, they allowed too much pressure. CJ Stroud didn't get comfortable. CJ Stroud didn't play well. The offensive line didn't play well, and they lost the football game. Now, it's not as simple as, oh, well, just protect CJ Stroud. You win this football game. But it goes a long damn way into winning this game. Protecting it last week against San Francisco, impressive. They didn't allow a sack for the first time in almost 2 years. In fact, it was over 2 years for a regular season game, and it had been since the playoff game against the Baltimore Ravens at the end of Stroud's rookie year, since they hadn't allowed a sack. All those things I told you about the Denver Broncos, how tall or how high on the rankings they are, near the top in sack percentage and quarterback pressure percentage and sacks in general, all those at the top, flip it to the bottom. That's where the San Francisco 49ers are. So it was impressive because anytime you don't allow your quarterback to get sacked, then you can go out there and tout that as an offensive line. And yes, this offensive line for the Houston Texans in previous years has let all manner of slappies have big days against them. But it's a step up or two in competition with this Denver Broncos team coming to town. The flip side of that is if you protect against the Denver Broncos, if you can hold up against this Broncos team, then you're going to be able to hold up against just about anybody. This is the most ferocious defensive line left on the schedule. And if you can protect and beat the Denver Broncos, you look at the rest of the teams on the schedule, there's not many that are going to get in the same realm, in the same weight class as this Denver Broncos team. There's not many that are going to challenge the Houston Texans like this Denver Broncos team. So, by virtue of the opponent and the opportunity, it becomes a big measuring stick opportunity for the Houston Texans in this matchup. It becomes a way to look at where exactly they are as an offense, where exactly CJ Stroud is as a quarterback, obviously where this offensive line is and where they can go as a team, and then ultimately Nick Caley, because as much as I want to talk about the 7 offensive linemen that the Texans use to protect CJ Stroud, it's about CJ Stroud and Nick Caley getting the ball out quick, helping that offensive line by moving the pocket, making things difficult on that Broncos pass rush with a play action here or there, designing and scheming and opening things up for that passing game. Yes, it's about these 7 blockers that the Texans will use to block the Broncos. It's also about the quarterback and the offensive coordinator being in simpatico and being ready for the challenge that is this Denver Broncos football team. So the Broncos, not quite a great measuring stick for the Texans, but let's see if they can put out a red-hot offense from the offensive standpoint. From a defensive standpoint, test your mettle against this Broncos defense and succeed. I don't know why anybody would have any doubts that the Texans have turned the corner and are headed in the correct direction as an offense. You fail this challenge, you don't look good against this Denver Broncos team, and well, all the questions that we had about the Seattle Seahawks game, they start to pop up yet again ahead of that matchup with the Jaguars next week. And that's not what anybody, you, me, or the Texans, want to deal with in this situation. Let's get to your comments, your questions, your joys, and your concerns here in just a moment, right after I tell you about my friends at TickPick. Hey, TickPick is the ticketing app. Do you hate paying fees when you buy tickets online? Well, you don't have to pay fees with TickPick. My friends at TickPick are giving you $20 off your first $100 purchase with the code HMA. HMA is the code, and TickPick is the absolute best. I've used TickPick for years, okay? Years. I've used TickPick for years. They are the best ticketing app. They have the best sorting features. They have the best prices. You don't pay fees, which is my favorite part. You've got seat pictures right there in the app. You can see what your seat is going to look like. You're going to get a view of what you're looking at in the ticketing app right there. All you got to do is use that code HMA. HMA is the code. You enter it in when you're in the TickPick app, and you're going to get that $20 off your first $100 purchase with that code HMA. TickPick, again, I can't stress this enough. You will never pay fees with TickPick. You will never pay fees with TickPick. They want you to have a smooth, seamless ticketing opportunity. And it's not just sports. You've got concerts, big and small concerts. You've got so many different shows and opportunities. And, of course, sports to check out with TickPick. Use the code HMA for $20 off your first $100 with your in-app purchase. TickPick, HMA is the code. Appreciate my friends at TickPick for being sponsors. And, man, I love them. I've been using them for years. I've used them to go see concerts. I've used them to go see sporting events, both big and small. And they got tickets for everything on there. TickPick, check them out. Let's get to your comments, your questions, your joys, and your concerns. Super chats, of course, jump to the front of the line like JB Allen, the Annihilator. Happy Halloween. What is everyone's go-to Halloween movie? Mine is 2020's Underwater. I don't know if I've ever seen that one, JB. What's my go-to Halloween movie? It's tough to beat an original Friday the 13th. Old school Halloween, and even the new updated version of Halloween is a pretty good one for me. So I like that one. Classic Scream, a little throwback Scream, the very first one. That was hot stuff when it first came out. So Scream's a good one. Those are pretty good. As far as like recent ones, Weapons was kind of like a funny / scary movie. It wasn't as scary, but it's pretty good. That one's like a little bit less like scary, jumpy, and a little bit more kind of just like, ooh, like tense. That'd be my nod to the recent one. Maybe I'll put Underwater on the list there, JB. Appreciate you for the super chat. Of course, happy Halloween. Dime's got his coffee, and JB Allen's got his coffee. HDAV Travelers here. Good to see you, my friend. Grizzly is here. TGIF, Stoots in the Given with an early stream. Well, we get to business fast here over at NRG Stadium. 10:30 is when they let us in for practice, so got to get up, get the stream going, and get the truck loaded up for the Spanky's show this afternoon. Don't forget to visit us at Spanky's. This afternoon, we'll be there at 3. Live broadcast starts at 4, and then we'll hang out there a little bit after. Got some gift cards to give away, some other fun stuff. We'll be in costume. Tazewell, good to see you. Jason, good to see you. As Tazewell says, please like the video. It's a little thumbs up button down here. Good morning to Frank Z. Tazewell says, I need to try one of those Rise drinks. I always drink sugar-free Red Bull. I like Rise because they got a lot of caffeine in them, 200 milligrams. You can see it right there on the can. But I love the flavors. And there's a lot more. Like they got 16 ounces. It's bigger than a Red Bull. So you can, get sip on it over the course of a morning. So do love me a little Rise. Dime says they were blabbing about the jumbo package in motion all pregame last night. Looks like Miami moved the ball well, but couldn't convert in the red zone. Hope that doesn't happen to us. The Texans have to be better in the red zone, Dime. That's great observation, great opportunity to talk about the issues they've had in the red zone. They cannot settle for field goals and still beat the Denver Broncos. They're going to need to turn some of those field goals that they typically kick in the red zone into touchdowns if they're going to take care of the Denver Broncos. Unless that defense shows up and, they just really, rock the Broncos offense. Even then, you're still going to need to put some touchdowns on the board. Good to see Patrick here. Grizzly says, Cody, no Patrick Surtain and Riley Moss is the most flagged player for defensive pass interference in the league. Surely Kaylee has a plan for this, right? LOL. Yeah, Riley Moss gets picked on because Pat Surtain's been on the other side of him. So he gets picked on. He's had some flags thrown on him, certainly. A couple weeks ago against the Giants, a really bad flag on him almost cost the Broncos the game, but ultimately they ended up coming back and winning that football game. Here's the thing. The guy that is filling in for Pat Surtain is really bad, or the expected fill-in, I should say, is really bad. He's allowed the second highest passer rating on the Denver Broncos. So they're not putting a awesome fill-in, so you may see both of those outside corners targeted in this one. MMA, throwing it back to that Texans-Broncos game for a couple years ago. That was a great Stingley game. Von Clutch, Nick Caley fitting to give out Smarties and Dum-Dums. I mean, you like a little Smarties and a Dum-Dums every now and then. You don't want that to be the whole candy bag. I think you're saying you don't believe in Nick Caley, which, okay, I get it. That's fine. That's fine. Good to see you, BG. Of course, if you're a member like BG is, you get the custom emojis. Good to see you, Albert. Appreciate you. Hayden with a super chat. Jumps in here to the front of the line. Cody, putting the GM hat on going forward. You pay CJ, then put the rest of your money on O-line while getting cheap labor for running back wide receiver. CJ's shown multiple times he can move the ball with lesser talent. Here's what I would say about a CJ Stroud new contract conversation or contract extension conversation. Table it. Until we see a little bit more, table it. Let's not put too much on it. Let's table it for right now. Just kind of put it on the table. Here's what I also say. They're going to pay CJ and Will if they pay them both. You know, if they pay one of them, they're probably going to pay both of them. So you're going to have two huge contracts on the books. In addition to Nico's a big deal, Derek Stingley's a big deal. So yeah, you're going to have to have some cheap labor at wide receiver, running back. Part of the reason you drafted two wide receivers this year and you drafted a running back this year. So you're going to need some cheap labor there at those positions. Obviously, you're going to need to find some gems and some cheap labor on the offensive line. Now you look at the Eagles and they've paid defenders. They've paid multiple offensive linemen. They've paid multiple wide receivers. They paid a running back. They paid a quarterback. There's ways to make it all work and still invest quite a bit and spread it out throughout the team. But eventually you're going to find yourself running into a need for a little bit of cash here or there. And you just may not have the opportunity really to spend that money. And so, yeah, you're going to need cheap labor. You're going to need young players on good contracts or rookie contracts to play well. When you sign CJ Stroud, if you indeed, or even when you sign Will Anderson, you're still going to need good players on cheap contracts. So it's a good question. And they do need to start kind of planning for it, Hayden. Don't sacrifice 2025 while you're planning for it, but it is something for 2026 and beyond to think about. It's a good question. Gibby, we running 50% out of the jumbo package. They do run more out of the jumbo package than they throw the ball. That was evident by the 49ers one. So that is something to pay attention to when Blake Fisher makes his way out there. It's a good point, Gibby. Landry sent me Sean Payton's press conference from Wednesday. And he said, hey, watch this. What do you think of Sean Payton? And we went back and forth a little bit on it. But one thing that Sean Payton said when he was talking about Mercedes Lewis, when he's talking about why they added the 41-year-old blocking specialist to their tight end room, Sean Payton, offensive mastermind, said you don't want to get caught in the jumbo package too much. I'm paraphrasing here, but I thought that was interesting that he kind of threw in there, hey, you don't want to get you don't want to get stuck in the jumbo package too much. And the Texans that was their number two. I mean, they had Blake Fisher on the field for the second most amount of snaps outside of their 11 personnel last week. So, offensive mastermind Sean Payton don't want to get caught in jumbo. That's why he brought in a 41-year-old blocking tight end. The Texans, maybe by necessity, have to be in jumbo. So let's talk a little bit about the check marks here right after I talk about the injuries. Look, Friday's practice is typically a lighter practice, a little bit of a walkthrough for the Texans most of the time. You got to be on the lookout today when you go to practice for Woody Marks and Dalton Schultz. That's what I'll be looking for, okay? Woody Marks popped up on the injury report yesterday with a calf injury. He was limited with practice with a calf injury. Now, why is that scary? Because if a player shows up after not being on the injury report Wednesday with a calf injury on Thursday, it happened since the Wednesday practice. So it could have happened. He woke up Thursday and he was feeling it. It happened during practice Thursday. Regardless, if he doesn't practice at all on Friday, that does not bode well for Sunday with Woody Marks. And you need Woody Marks in this matchup. I'd have a hard time picking the Houston Texans to beat the Denver Broncos if I knew they weren't going to have Woody Marks. So you got to be on the lookout for Woody Marks. The other guy I'm going to be on the lookout for is Dalton Schultz. If Schultz is playing or Schultz is at practice here Friday, today, if he's at practice and he's practicing, then there's a really good chance that he's going to go. DeMeco Ryans was pretty optimistic that they were going to have Dalton Schultz for this matchup. If they don't have Dalton Schultz, it's a pretty rough tight end situation, and Schultz has blocked really well this year from the position. He's obviously been a nice safety valve for CJ Stroud in getting rid of the football. He's done a really nice job catching the ball this year. He's got a knee and shoulder injury, according to the injury report. If Schultz doesn't practice, that doesn't mean he's not going to play. It just is highly unlikely. There's only been, I think, one or two scenarios where a guy hasn't practiced and then ended up playing for DeMeco Ryans on Sunday. Steven Nelson, of course, against Cincinnati a couple of years ago was one of them. So Woody Marks, Dalton Schultz, be on the lookout for the update on social media about that when practice gets going a little bit later on. So we got to get these check marks going here. All right. We got to get these check marks going. And we'll do that right after I tell you about TDECU. Quickly here about TDECU. 15% off the online team store when you use your Texans debit card. TDECU.org/Texans has all the information there for you. Membership's required and they're insured by the NCUA. I got signed up at TDECU, my local TDECU, one of the 15 greater Houston area locations, in less than 20 minutes. You can get this whole thing started, become a member of TDECU, walk out with that beautiful Texans debit card in less than 20 minutes when you walk into a TDECU branch here in Houston. All you got to be is a resident in the state of Texas to sign up for TDECU. And then the perks, they come a-flowing, and they're so good about explaining why you might want to go with this checking account, why you might want to go with that checking account, all the different options and benefits that TDECU brings to you. They easily explain it when you go in there and you sign up for your TDECU Texans debit card. I've got mine. It's in my wallet over there across the room, so I'm not going to show it to you right now, but man, it looks great. The folks at TDECU are great, and they are great with your money. Put your money with TDECU. Now, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is here, and I am going to start the check marks. And you'll notice we got some new additions to the check marks. We got the coaches, we got the kickers, we got the punters. Let's start with the Houston Texans defense versus the Denver Broncos offense. Okay, and we'll get to some of your comments, your questions, your joys, and concerns as we go along. Let's go to the coach over here. I got the headset now with the coach's name. DeMeco Ryans has just been coaching at an extremely high level with defense. I put his name there instead of Burks because I do believe I saw DeMeco Ryans with the good old-fashioned Denny's menu calling defense last week. But even if he's not, DeMeco Ryans is still a prevailing coach here on defense. So you're getting a check mark here for DeMeco Ryans and how well he has coached this thing up on defense. Now let's get to his players. Kalen Bullock and MJ Stewart, solid at the safety duo right now, but ultimately no check marks there. Azeez Al-Shire and Henry Toe, again, some really solid play from those guys, but no check mark for the linebackers for the Houston Texans. Sheldon Rankins and Tim Settle Jr. Nothing quite yet from these guys, though Rankins has been a really, really solid and consistent player. Settle's had some nice moments. Togiai factors into this equation as well, but nothing quite there yet. Will Anderson's a monster. He's been one of the best defensive linemen in football this year. He's getting 2 check marks. That's how good I feel like Will Anderson's playing right now. He's getting 2 check marks. He's been excellent. He's still got to convert and turn the corner and get some of those pressures and turn them into sacks. And man, if he takes his sack percentage up to where it was last year, he is going to be a defensive player of the year candidate. He's still got time to sort of get in that conversation, stay in that conversation as well. But 2 check marks for Will Anderson in this one. He has been fan-freaking-tastic. Derek Stingley's getting a check mark. A lot of times Sting has had a 2 check mark scenario, but right now Derek Stingley's just getting 1 check mark, and maybe a throwback to 2 years ago when he just dominated the Broncos is on deck. And you know what I'm going to do as well? I'm going to skip over to Danielle Hunter. Just where is it, Danielle? Where has some of the incredible success that we've seen from Danielle Hunter, where has it been? It hasn't been there as consistently this season as it has been in previous years. He's still getting a little bit of pressure, but he's got to get home. Don't you know where your home is, Danielle? Get home. He's got to get home. So no Danielle Hunter check mark. I'm giving Kamari Lassiter a check mark. He's a freak right now. A little bit of a slow start, but Lassiter's been going up all season long, and the interception to seal it against the 49ers. Teams pick on him because they don't want to throw at Derek Stingley. He gets in there, helps in the run game. Man, Kamari Lassiter, he's getting a check mark in this one. Let's go over to the Denver side of things. Oh, Tommy Townsend, no check mark for him. And the Texans punts and punt coverage, it's been about in the middle of the league. So no check mark for Tommy Townsend in this one. All right, Sean Payton. I mean, coaching up a really good offense right now. They're red hot. Sean Payton is getting a check mark here. He's been really good as the coach for the Broncos the past couple of years. Got Bo Nix going as a rookie. Kind of had that little hiccup and then bounces back here. Past 5 quarters, they've been excellent. How does he not get a check mark in this one? Going to their wide receivers, I'm not super impressed with too many of their wide receivers, you know. Cortland Sutton, he's solid, but not excellent. Pat Bryant's a rookie who caught a touchdown last week. Troy Franklin has been pretty good, but not great for the Denver Broncos up to this point. So no wide receiver check marks there for the Broncos. Evan Ingram's come on strong in the past few weeks for the Broncos, but not like amazing. He's not George Kittle. He's not been like taking over games like, say, a Tyler Warren. So no check mark for him. J.K. Dobbins is getting a check mark. When you're 3rd in rushing yards coming into this week, you deserve a check mark. A veteran, a reliable guy. When healthy, Dobbins has been one of the most productive football players at the running back spot on a consistency basis. He's not that top-end guy, but the reliability is there for J.K. Dobbins when he's healthy. And guess what? He's healthy right now, and he's playing at a really high level. I'm not giving a check mark to R.J. Harvey. He's had some really nice moments, but it's not quite checkmark time for RJ Harvey, though he is coming off a 3 touchdown performance. And so that's pretty good. But the 3 touchdown performance, that's kind of the first big explosion. Let's see if he can do it again. So no check mark for Harvey. Bo Nix has been red hot for the past 5 quarters. And if I'm going to give CJ Stroud a check mark for a 5-quarter stretch, I got to give Bo Nix a check mark for a 5-quarter stretch. So Bo Nix, the quarterback for the Broncos, getting a check mark here. The offensive line as a whole, okay? The O-line as a whole is getting a check mark for the Broncos. They are number 1 in sacks allowed for an offensive line. So we'll go ahead and just put that right here for the offensive line check. They're number 1 in sacks allowed. They're number 2 in quarterback pressure percentage. So they're going to get a check mark for the offensive line. And individually in the offensive line, Garrett Bowles has been one of the best tackles in football this year. So Bowles is also getting a check mark just because he has been fan-freaking-tastic this season. Pass block rating on Pro Football Focus of over 90. And again, one of the best offensive tackles in football this year. So lots for the Broncos over here at offense. Oh, wait, hold on. I missed one here. And I actually have his jersey up this week. I had to draw it in last week. Petry's getting a check mark because Sean Payton went out of his way to talk about Jalen Petrie in his press conference. So, the press conference Landry sent me, he went out of his way to talk about Jalen Petrie. Sean Payton did. He said, well, that Nickel's a really great football player, dynamic football player. And it was not like what do you think about Jalen Petrie? It was, hey, Texans defense. And he was talking about, well, Stingley and Anderson, and that nickel is really good. So Petrie gets a check mark there. So let's count them up here. Sting and Lassiter, so the corners each get one, so that's 2 check marks. D'Amico Ryans makes it 3. Will Anderson makes it 5, and Derek Stingley makes it 6 here on defense for the Texans. 2 for the offensive line, 1 for Bowles individually, and 1 for the offensive line as a whole. Bo Nix makes it 3. Dobbins makes it 4. Sean Payton makes it 5. I almost wanted to put Lutz as a check mark here, but I think a lot of his success is Denver-based. So we're going to go with a 5 here for the Broncos offense. I could even probably sneak in another check mark for the offensive line as a whole for the Broncos, but I'm going to leave it as is right now. So 6 for the Texans defense, 5 for the Broncos offense. I don't know if the Texans are going to have very many check marks over on their side when we get to that portion, but we'll get to that here in just a moment. Getting me a little caffeine. Hope you're enjoying caffeine with Cody this morning. Let's get to some of your comments, your questions, your joys, and your concerns right after I talk about my friends at Sleeper. Sleeper is daily fantasy. It's very easy. You're putting a couple of predictions together, and you are winning if you get all of your predictions correct. Let's put a prediction together with each other. You get the discounted pick of Jordan Love if he throws for 1 pass yard. Jahmyr Gibbs gets in the end zone a lot. Got to figure he's getting into the end zone. I got to figure Jonathan Taylor is getting in the end zone because that's what Jonathan Taylor does. And then you go to this Denver and this Houston matchup. Typically, I'd load this thing up with Broncos and Texans. Just having a hard time seeing how exactly this works out for a big offensive day. But Stroud, for his yards, he's got over 220 yards. No Pat Surtain and a little leakiness to that Denver Broncos defense. And then Nico Collins in the return. But the other guys taking care of the business. 5 wins us 40. So a little bit of a lower risk because some of these things are pretty likely to happen. But there's our entry for this week. Use that code Stoots, STOOTS, STOOTS. You're going to get a free $20 no deposit required play. And you're going to get the deposit match up to $100. Terms and conditions do apply. Check out Sleeper's terms and conditions. But a free $20 entry with no deposit required, and you get the deposit match. Use my code Stoots, STOOTS. The link's in the description down below. So check out my friends over at Sleeper. They are fantastic when it comes to daily fantasy, and it's a great scores app as well. So when college football Saturday is going on, hit that scores tab, and it works as the best scores app in the game. Your comments, your questions, your joys, and your concerns. Of course, super chats jump to the front of the line. Pay Will Anderson Jr. Wait on CJ Stroud. Use CJ's 5th-year option until he can show week-to-week consistency. Yeah, the conversation today for me, for CJ Stroud, table it, wait. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Make him prove it. And if he proves it at the end of the year, pay him. And if he doesn't, give him another year. And then you're happy to pay the extra money if he goes out there and proves he's worth the big contract. But you don't want to pay the guy just because it's time to pay the guy. You want to pay the guy, and you want to pay him a lot if he's earned it. But you don't just pay the guy to pay the guy. Okay? Jacksonville paid the guy to pay the guy. Miami paid the guy to pay the guy. Don't do that. That's not good business. You shouldn't do that with CJ Stroud. All right. We get caught up here on the comments, the questions, the joys, and the concerns. Then we will jump over to the defensive side of the ball for the Broncos, the offensive side of the ball for the Houston Texans. And we will get to the rest of the check marks, a 6 and a 5 carrying over from the Broncos offense and the Texans defense. So let me go ahead and note that over on my list over here. And then we'll get to your comments, your questions, and your concerns. Adieu says, hit that like button for the best channel in all of YouTube. Well, you're kind, man. Thank you. I don't know if I'm the best channel in all of YouTube, but I'm sure doing a lot of fun stuff here on the channel, having a blast talking with you guys, and appreciate all the support. Frank Z says, Broncos radio talking heads are considering this game versus Texans a measuring stick for their offense, coincidentally, as it should be. They haven't beat up any fantastic defenses up to this point. In fact, the two best defenses they've played, the Chargers and the Colts, and the Eagles, they almost lost the Eagles game. They should have won the Colts game, but it was a close one, and the Chargers beat them up pretty good. So, they haven't had a lot of success against good defenses up to this point. JB Allen, we need to ensure the quick passes, CJ relying on those checkdowns, get Noel and Nico the ball and have them get yards after the catch. Yeah, let the yak monster that is Nico Collins go out there and take care of business. Taze is worried about no Woody, and he, of course, knows that TickPick is great. Coffee lover. The Broncos are definitely a different team now than what they were in 2023, and the Texans played them. Hope the Texans can bring some of that same fire that helped them win last time. Yeah, vastly different. Much more talented on offense, playing much better on offense. The offensive line is better as well. So, yeah, there's plenty to like about this Broncos team compared to 2 years ago. So, it's not going to be a tough matchup. Draw plays are tough if Woody's on the field. Yeah, they do trust him. They do trust him quite a bit with those plays, though Chubb can run them. I prefer Woody to run them, though. Crack Nicholson, which is a great handle. Cody, which is your favorite Rise flavor, blue Kool-Aid and cherry limeade for me? Well, you're right on it, man. The cherry limeade is probably my favorite. I didn't love it the very first time I tried it, but I ended up really liking it. So cherry limeade is very high on my list. And I like the Sunny D one as well. The grape Kool-Aid is very good from Rise as well. And they've got some flavors I haven't seen in a while that were pretty good. I can't remember what some of those are, but grape Kool-Aid, cherry limeade, and the Sunny D are the favorite ones for me. Sanchez, Bali Sanchez, happy Halloween with the pumpkin. Thank you. Happy Halloween to you as well. JB Allen, with Patrick Surtain out, do we think Jade Barron will make an impact? They should play Barron a little bit more in this one. He didn't play a ton last week in the course of the game. And I think there's a chance they just go ahead and play him outside instead of the guy that they have outside. But I think there's a chance they play Barron. Not a great chance, but he might play. And he was really good in college. So, and then they made him a high draft pick. Cody, do you know Mike? Well, it's Red Bull. Has he ever been on the show with you? He has not. I don't think I know Mike. If I do, maybe I don't know him by that name or so. Trill Kick X with the super chat. Showed up for costume day at work as an OC. How do I get my Indeed profile to Miko and Nick? Trill Kick, I want to know what you're calling. Hey, it's 3rd and 1. It's 3rd and 1. The offensive line's been getting their ass kicked all day long. What are you calling, Trill? Give me the play call. Spit it out in the chat. I'll read it out like I'm CJ Stroud, and we'll see if the audience thinks it's a good play call. Put that in there. We'll read it out in the chat like I'm CJ Stroud. Give me the play call, Trill. All right? Give me the play call. Mercedes Lewis is still in the league? Yeah, he certainly is. He certainly is. 41. Same draft class as D'Amico Ryans. Patrick, how many licks does it take to get to the center of an axiom? The core, if you will. Now, see, that's the high level jokes that Patrick's bringing to the table. High level. It's 3, right? I'm guessing you're asking about Spankies. We'll be there at 3. The live broadcast starts at 4. You can show up at 3, get you a spot close up front. You're going to want to be close. We got some stuff to throw out and give out and hand out here. So, 3 o'clock at Spankies when we'll be there. 4 o'clock when the live show starts. Frank Z, Bo Nix only a second-year QB, and he's not on CJ's level, even with Sean Payton. Bo Nix was better than CJ last year. I mean, it hasn't been as good. It hasn't been as good this year for Bo Nix as it was last year, but Bo Nix was better than CJ last year. Dime says Danico Autry needs a check. He just doesn't play as much. Like if he played every down, maybe I give him a check, but he didn't play as much. Day Miko Ryan says, please, MJ Stewart, you got a ball, dog. Well, an opportunity, certainly. Certainly. BG's putting the hope together. Limited participant today, game time decision. And he goes, from your lips to God's ears, BG. From your lips to God's ears. JB with the same thought that I had. You thought Garrett Bowles would be a bust. He turned out to be great, so there's hope for young tackles. Yeah, Garrett Bowles was awful when he first got in the league. He had penalty problems, and now he's turned into one of those consistent tackles in all of football. So he's done a great job. They've coached him up really well. I mean, it's been really good from him. Really good from him. Top 5 favorite scary movies? Ooh. I mean, I know you're asking about like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger, yada, yada. But like Scary Movie 1 was my favorite. Then it was Scary Movie 3, Scary Movie 2. I'm kidding. I mean, I liked the Halloween ones. I kind of go by characters. Like Freddy's scary as hell to me. Chucky is scary as hell to me. Halloween with Michael Myers was scary. Jason was always scary. I like kind of that stalking, doesn't say much villain as much as I like the trash talker Freddy and Chucky. So, I mean, Chucky scared me to death as a child. Still scares me if I look at it the wrong way and catch a glimpse of that killer doll. It scares the crap out of me. So those would be my scary ones. Mellow Mike, let Woody Marks feast underneath, involve Nico early. And often Noel has physicality to eat yak, more Noel than Kirk. The rookie is just playing better. I tend to agree with you, Mellow Mike. Let's see it. All right, Trill Kicks has the play call in. All right, so 57's reporting is eligible. 57's reporting is eligible. Y26 Jet Yellow Rabbit. Y26 Jet Yellow Rabbit on two. Ready? Break. I think you're getting sacked, Trill. I think you're getting sacked. I don't know if I love the play call. Maybe you get the first down. I don't know. I love this from Bearcat. The tight end screen I like to use with Dalton Schultz and Madden. It works great. I'd love a little tight end screen here every now and then. All right. Let's get to the defense. Let's get to the defense of the Denver Broncos, the offense of the Houston Texans. And we play the check mark game. We see the 6 and the 5 carried over 31. I had the wrong name in here, but 31 on Denver is their backup outside cornerback, Chris Abrams-Drain, I believe is how I say his name, Abrams-Drain. So KAD is his initials. So we'll put that in there, KAD. So KAD, Chris Abrams-Drain, and he stinks. Not very good. Now, they could play Barron out here. But I think they're going to go with Chris Abrams-Drain in this spot here. So let's talk a little bit about this Denver Broncos defense. As I mentioned, the Denver Broncos defense is tops in the league in sacks, tops in the league in sack percentage, tops in the league in quarterback pressure percentage. They also stop the run really well, too. Vance Joseph, their defensive coordinator, is getting a check mark. Just listen to the respect that DeMeco Ryans has for Vance Joseph.
You have to be ready. Again, all your protection rules will get tested. Vance does a really good job of knowing how to stress your protection and where the weak points are. So we know we're going to get strained in that area. So it's going to take all 11 again, whether that's the backs stepping up in protection, tight ends, our lines and quarterbacks making the proper call, that we can ID it the proper way. Like, we feel like we can have some plays. But again, you may think it's one thing. He does a good job of just disguising and mixing things up.
See it, know it, say it, stop it. Not going to be easy, but Vance Joseph's getting a check mark. The safeties here, Jones and Hufanga. Hufanga was a Pro Bowler a few years ago, hasn't quite recaptured that same level of play, but Hufanga is a really nice football player. Greenlaw and Singleton are their linebackers. This is a guy, I'm going to circle him real quick. This is a guy that you need to watch for in this game. Alex Singleton has allowed a passer rating of 140 plus this season. Singleton gets put into precarious coverage positions. Singleton gets targeted by opposing offenses, and Singleton does not cover well from the linebacker spot. Okay? He has done a really bad job in coverage this year. That is something to pay attention to in this matchup, all right? So Singleton is a guy that you want to remember. When you see 49 in coverage, go attack him. So hopefully Woody Marks can play and you can put him in some precarious positions. Dre Greenlaw has not quite been the Dre Greenlaw of San Fran. He really hasn't been that guy since the knee injury. Riley Moss is not getting a check mark. He's been pretty tough. Their nickel guy is pretty decent. McMillan, solid enough player. The defensive front that the pass rushers, really, these five guys here, Bonito to Cooper and the three big fellas in the middle. Zach Allen, fake J.J. Watt, is getting a check mark here. He's been fantastic for them. A really consistent pass rusher on the inside. Very good job by him this year. Going in there, disrupting things from that standpoint. He's getting a check mark. Franklin Myers, John Franklin Myers is a guy that they traded for from the Jets a while back, and he's been really good. He's been one of their sack guys this year. He's been very successful in getting after the quarterback. He's done a really good job this year. They'll plug the thing up in the middle here with Jones, and then you got the two edge guys. This is right now an edge duo that is playing, as far as the pass rush standpoint. This pass rushing duo, Bonito and Cooper, right now is better than the Texans pass rushing duo. The level that Bonito and Cooper are both playing at right now is an incredible level, and they are doing a very good job right now. Cooper is absolutely getting a check mark. He's been awesome. A former 7th round pick out of the Ohio State University has turned into a big-time pass rusher for this football team, and the Nick Bonito is a defensive player of the year candidate. He is getting 2 check marks. Just like Will Anderson gets it for being one of the best pass rushers in football, Nick Bonito gets check marks for being one of the best pass rushers in football. So you factor in what the Denver Broncos have done here on defense and building this thing out and bringing the pass rushers. Lots of check marks here in the front 7. 7 check marks in the front set. 5. 7. Jeez. 5 check marks here in the front 7. 5 in the front 7 for the Broncos, but nothing in the secondary, nothing with their punter. Their coach does get a check mark as well. Let's flip it over to the Texans over here on offense. Nick Haley's not getting a check mark. Kaimi Fairbairn's not getting a check mark, so no check marks there. We're not sure if Woody Marks is going to go. That's no check mark there. Nick Chubb's not getting a check mark. I put a question mark here. Because we don't know if Dalton Schultz is going to play. Now, listen to Nick Caley talk about the tight end situation behind Dalton Schultz, and it doesn't really instill confidence.
We got a good room of really smart, hardworking guys. They're all versatile. They're cross-trained. You know, some people say fullback. Some people say, F. Y. It's F and Y. I mean, those guys are interchangeable. They're all cross-trained. We do that from the time we get here to spring because things like this happen, and you lose guys. It's the National Football League. So got a lot of faith in them. They're tough. They're smart. They're hardworking. They're always prepared. They're ready to back each other up, and I got a lot of faith in those guys, and Jake Moreland does a good job with those guys.
So if it's Harrison Bryant here at tight end, you're not getting a check mark. You're not getting a check mark unless it's Dalton Schultz. And even a hobbled Dalton Schultz, I'm giving him a check mark because he's been really good for the Texans. And he's been really solid and consistent and blocked well and caught the ball well. But if you're not getting Dalton Schultz, you're not getting a check mark there. Harrison Bryant is something to be worried about. If he's the tight end, Dalton Keene's on the practice squad. Luke Lachey is on the practice squad, and then Jakob Johnson could be activated from injured reserve to help with some of the tight end duties, and maybe British Brooks could fill in. But ultimately, this is a spot here that would have been a check mark that is no longer a check mark for the Texans on offense. Nico Collins gets a check mark. Of course, he's Nico Collins. And until he proves he's not Nico Collins on a consistent basis, Nico Collins is getting a check mark. Now, here's the thing. Do I put a check mark next to CJ Stroud's name? Does CJ Stroud get a check mark coming off of a 30 for 39 performance where he was electric with the football? He was confident. He was disciplined. He was getting the ball wherever he wanted to go. He threw 2 touchdowns, had that big 44-yard pass to Jalen Noel, looked totally in control, was feeling it, was in a rhythm. Getting him a check mark. I'll get a check mark for CJ Stroud. He's playing really well coming out of this one. Now, if he doesn't play well in this one, he's not getting a check mark next week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But it's going to be ugly putting those Jaguars colors on here. So let's add up what the Broncos got. 5 check marks in their front 7 with Vance Joseph to go along with it. So 6 from offense, 6 from defense, and we get 12 check marks there for the Denver Broncos. That's the ugliest 12 I've ever written in my entire life. 12 check marks for the Denver Broncos. The Houston Texans add 2 check marks from offense to give them 7 on the day. This is one of the biggest gaps we've seen in the check mark game, which goes to show you how well the Broncos defense is playing. The question marks that we have on the Texans offense, it really is predicated on CJ Stroud having a good day and then Nico Collins doing what Nico Collins does. And it would only be 8 check marks if they still had Dalton Schultz. It'd still be a big gap here. So the Broncos win the check mark game. They are the team that ends up with more check marks in this one. I was going to use orange because it's Halloween, but then I remember the Broncos are orange, so couldn't use the orange on that. So I used the green. You know it's always green, always clean? Texans Turf. Landry did all the shopping for you. He found the best turf guy in the business, Dan the Man, at Texans Turf. If you want turf at your home, in your backyard, in your front yard, at your rental property, at your business, if you want turf in your house, Dan the Man can do it, okay? It's customized to exactly what you want and need for your turf. Imagine walking outside and having your own putting green in the backyard, working on the short game in the backyard, and the kids are playing over in the play area, and then you don't have to worry about fertilizing it, cutting it, and treating the dark spots and ant beds and bugs and all this other stuff. Always clean, always green. TexansTurf.com is where you can set up that free consultation with Texans Turf. They'll come out, give you that estimate, get you squared away, and you can see all the fantastic work they do at TexansTurf.com. It's TexansTurf.com. Give Dan a call. Check him out there on the website today. All right, let's finish up with your comments, your questions, your joys, and your concerns. And we'll get you ready for the rest of the day. 10:30 practice for the Texans. And a look towards Woody Marks and Dalton Schultz in this one. MMA says, if you had to bet on it, who is getting a turnover on defense this week? I'm leaning Petrie with how they throw near the line of scrimmage. Yeah, Sean Payton called out Petrie, liked him a lot, and I tend to think that if Sean Payton notices you're probably playing pretty well. I could see Petrie doing it. I mean, Sting, if they challenge Sting with Sutton or some other guys, like I think Sting would be a good bet. So imagine if this team had prime Nick Chubb. He would be beasting. Well, if prime Nick Chubb still existed, then he'd still be in Cleveland, I think. I don't think you'd ever have the chance to get him. True Kick X with the super chat. Cody, why you think Locke don't get more national love? Oh, he's talking about Lassiter, Kamari Lassiter. I think people just, they don't they think the Texans as a conglomerate on defense because they've got Will Anderson and Derek Stingley take away from him. And then he was in a draft class that had other corners, and Quinyon Mitchell is the best corner out of that draft class. Quinyon Mitchell's been really, really good for the Eagles. And so I think a lot of people focus on that. And I think when people think the Texans, they think about Derek Stingley, they think about Willie Anderson, but Lassiter's very good. Very, very good. He sticks his nose in there in the run game. He's a good coverage guy. He's, as J.J. Watt put it, a card-carrying certified psychopath. And that's a good thing. DJ Hashbrown. Cody, Pepsi or Coke? If I'm having just a regular full sugar one, Pepsi. If I'm having a diet version, Diet Pepsi. If I'm having a zero version, Coke Zero. If I'm having a cherry version, Cherry Coke Zero. So I like Coke Zero more than Pepsi Zero. I like Cherry Coke Zero more than Wild Cherry Pepsi Zero. I like Diet Pepsi and regular Pepsi better than regular Coke and Diet Coke. I hate Diet Coke. I think it's disgusting. They created Coke Zero because Diet Coke sucks. Well, Pennywise, the clown did scare me. The clown did scare me. Very scary. I've never seen Phantasm. It's on Peacock app, and I'll have to watch this. Okay, so maybe you got a scary one for this one. You ever seen John Carpenter's The Thing? Fantastic. McCready? Yeah, The Thing. The Thing's scary because they're cold. The Thing is scary because they're cold, and I'd be freezing to death over there trying to deal with all that kind of stuff. The AFC South show says, I had a dream last night we beat the Broncos, but because Chubb ran for 90-plus yards, had 30 receiving yards. You might want to bet on that if that's your dream. You might have a little hunch here. A little hunch. Nico better have a good game. There's really no one on their defense that can cover him. I certainly agree. Without Surtain, the field is open. Just need time to throw. Or just get it out quick. Get it out quick. Who would have thought Nick Bonito would have turned out the way that he has? I believe Bonito was on the team when Bradley Chubb was on the roster. I thought Chubb had no help in Denver. Bonito turned into a really nice player. And he obviously hit his ceiling as a draft prospect. I was talking with John Harris about this the other day. This is not really who they thought Bonito was going to be when he got drafted. I mean, he always had a little bit of juice. As Harris noted, he got a little bit bigger too. So he added some weight, kept the speed, and Harris said he was coming out. He was impressed with Bonito's ability to bend around the edge, and it's worked out great for him. Cody, what is your all-time favorite moment for the Texans? Winning in the playoffs. Cleveland a couple of years ago was pretty high, but beating Cincinnati, the J.J. Watt's pick six, touchdown was it? I mean, they've had some really fun ones. They've had a lot of bad ones, but they've had some really fun ones. I mean, making the playoffs, Kevin Walter getting them in the playoffs against Cincinnati, So those are good ones. Rick asks, how does Luke Lachey look in practice? I mean, we don't see a lot of it, but, he still looks vastly different than the other tight ends. It just looks like he's not quite there yet. Mellow Mike, Kirk doesn't have the same juice as Noel. Noel's physical, can break tackles. Noel's more of a deep threat and play long developing plays to get open. Yeah, I mean, put him on the field and play him. Taze wanted a check mark for Noel. Not yet. Not yet. 21, Savage, or they JC-inator. Yeah, they went to handles. I guess so people couldn't impersonate people. I don't know why they did that. Hoping for the best, ready for the worst is still my motto with the team. I can certainly understand that. Over under 1.5 plays for Azeez making a dumb play. Yeah, I would think that it's under. Say Azeez going to be locked in. Patrick, Cody 10-10 on Coke versus Pepsi takes. I know my diet sodas. Dr. Pepper leaving Coke is going to be something to monitor. Could change a lot of stuff about it. Kyle Nance says, worried to be a 5 or 6 sack day for Stroud. Hope not. What would the payout be for a Fisher TD? I don't think they're going to have him listed, so I think he probably falls under any other player, which anywhere is usually 2.5 to 5 to 1. So I don't think he'll actually be listed because he's not a tight end. So I don't think most places will list him. If they do list him, throw a buck on it. Throw a buck on it. Okay. Spankies today, this afternoon. You do not want to miss this one. It's going to be a fun one. I have a lot of fun stuff. Some gift cards to give away. 3 o'clock at the Bel Air location. 3 o'clock at the Bel Air Spankies. Do not miss the opportunity to hang out with us at Spankies. We have a freaking blast when we go out there. The food is fantastic. It's great value. And we always have fun seeing you. So come out to Spankies today on Bel Air. And this will do it for the live stream today. Checkmark game went to the Broncos. See if the Texans can overcome the checkmark game. I end the live stream the same way each and every time. So my hope for you, it's my charge for you as well. I want you to eat good. I want you to sleep good. I want you to be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hip-hoppity, dip-doppity-doo.